me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Good evening, good evening. This is Lady Estelle. On this Easter Sunday, we are glad to be doing the work to keep you alive and free. Your host this evening is delighted to see that we are present. We are alive and free. Your host, Dr. Joseph E. Marshall Jr.
Thank you, Lady Estelle. Happy Easter, everyone, or as I've been getting texts, happy Resurrection Day. Hope everybody had a great time. I know I did with my grandkids, Lady E. Half of my grandkids are like, Granddaddy, where's my money? No, it's Easter. I'm supposed to give you no money. It's not your birthday. It's not Christmas. I ain't giving you no money. No, they didn't say that. But have fun. Good time and all. Took me back to the days when I used to plant eggs for my kids. Remember those days, Lady E? You remember those days?
I put together a big Easter display for my kids, for my grandkids, all three of them, for Mom and Dad. And they watched those Easter basket, and I even got a little Easter treat for the dog. I sure did.
That's very
So,
nice.
you know, I had them in pain for a week watching those gifts, watching those baskets. They couldn't touch it until today. And they were opening up eggs. Some of the eggs had chocolate. Some of the eggs had money. And then they had a puzzle. Yeah, it was just a super basket. And then there was an adult basket, and that was, little things that they could use around the house. A frother for their tea and coffee and little things like that. It was pretty cool.
Making me feel bad, but I didn't do none of that.
Well,
Back big time on Christmas now, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny.
Grandfather, all right,
Well, it's funny. Kids, there's that part of us that would love an Easter basket. Period.
Did you give me one?
Gray hair and all. I'll take an Easter egg with a surprise inside.
Okay, all right. I know. Okay.
Hey. So
What's
that's
up,
what their Gigi did. It was pretty cool.
Way to go, DG.
What's up, Street Soldiers family? Hello to the guests in the studio. Happy Resurrection Sunday to everybody listening. God is good. We're here once again.
Yeah.
Lady Estelle, I have to say, your Easter baskets, that you are next level on the Easter baskets. I shouldn't be surprised, but let me say, the money in the egg. See, now I know about the candy. Everyone knows about the candy eggs. I ain't never opened up an egg and found some money in it.
Hey, those are the best eggs to find, okay?
Okay, so you had me on that. Then you said the adult basket. Oh, no, see, I'm pitching them little bottles of whiskey or something, those little ones that you get for like $2.99. That could go in my basket real quick, y'all.
Don't tell him that. You're going to be hitting me up now.
Hey.
No, no, no. Now
That's
you're
nice.
supposed to know, Dr. Marshall. Now you've got the hint, the clue. So just get ready. Put it together.
And I will tell everyone I had a reunion this Easter. I reunited with the honey glazed ham. And let me tell you,
You kind of
just as
sounded
good
like
as I remember. That's all I got to
you
say
kind of
about that.
sounded like a pig, Malcolm, when you did that. Do that again one time, Malcolm.
Hey, that just came out. I can't do it again. But I'm telling you, that ham with the honey glaze, yes, sir. Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes. That's all I got.
All right, all right, all right. How was your Resurrection Day? Feel my mic.
That was good.
Good.
Yes.
He gives one-word answers unless I prompt him like more.
No, it was great. It was awesome.
He gives a two-word answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a good day.
Yeah. All right.
Mike, did you have some food? Did you spend it with
Nah, I
family,
didn't-
or you been working all day?
I was kind of working all day.
Okay.
I made I grilled some herb chicken.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. I did something on the grill.
Black
Yeah,
man on the grill.
You owe us something.
Nothing like it.
Oh, yeah, I do.
You spent on us something because you didn't come in here last Thanksgiving when then you owe us something.
Right. That's true.
All right. Okay. We're gonna
I got you.
I'm gonna keep the marker.
The big payback. I got you.
And I know you had a good time with your daughter. Y'all did. This is gonna be an extraordinary. See, she got to come all the way over to the mic to tell this.
Well, let me share a little bit about today. No, it was hilarious because we had to plant some eggs last night because I knew she was gonna Evelyn was gonna wake up. She's 6, remember? So she wakes up on time at 6:30 looking for bunny footprints around the house.
Looking for evidence of that bunny.
She's looking for the bunny. And my sister stayed over, and that was fun because she was like, I thought I heard some thumping around here last night. So,
Hippity hop hop.
yes. And so I try not to go too big with all the candy because I just remember Halloween and just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, and so that was fun. And she found her basket and everything just really like special. And then we went out to eat, which was really nice, just special to be kind of like taken care of and not have to do the dishes. And then we did another Easter egg hunt and she saw the Easter bunny and she goes, my auntie said she heard you last night coming through the house. I just thought it was so cute. So yeah, and then when we got home, she went ahead and refilled the eggs and she made us look for the eggs. And so she gave back. So
Cute.
it was very, just very special. I love her.
Little children have a way of just brightening up life, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Just so pure, so sweet, so much love, so beautiful.
We got to do that because the rest of the world's a mess. So,
yeah, well, the adults, basically, the grown-ups.
yeah. Well, that's why we got this show because of the grown-ups. All right. Let's get into some of this news, which is not pretty. We'll do it before we get into the show. Let me do my one Trump thing. Okay, I got
please.
every year, but I won. So in recognition of Easter Sunday, he's hawking Bibles now. He's hawking Bibles. He started with sneakers. Trump was hawking sneakers. Now he's selling God Bless the USA Bibles, which to me seems like you're selling a Bible. You selling a Bible, but hey, man, hey,
it's called the King Trump version. Okay.
Yes, the King Trump version. And the King James version. The King Trump verse. I just scratched that off. I had to say that. Boy, the boy's desperate. Okay, now he's hawking Bible, but he'll hawk anything. He will sell anything. Okay, you heard the story about the cargo rammed into a bridge in the Baltimore Harbor. And
oh my goodness, just about a week ago.
The whole bridge down.
Yeah, that I don't have the numbers on that. I don't know if you have man, but it's not a pretty scene at all. And for some reason, I read there are a lot of immigrants connected with that, and I don't know the construction.
I'll have to look up on that. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I know I heard a couple on TikTok. They got the 911 calls from people in the car, in the water. I mean, it's just it's horrific. I mean, I couldn't even. I had to stop listening to that because I'll have nightmares about stuff like that.
That's wow. Okay. For all of you election deniers out there, I want to know that one of you is So this Georgia GOP official who denied the 2020 election is fined and for illegally voting 9 times.
Mm.
Yes, he voted 9 times. 9 times. And yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think I wrote something here about him. All right, that's enough. All right, enough of that. These people are crazy.
Oh, look at that. The cheaters calling other people cheaters, huh?
All right, 9 times. 9 times.
Surprise, surprise, as they used to say.
The acclaimed actor Louis Gossett Jr. We all know
Oh,
him.
yeah. Rest in peace.
He won an Oscar, or Best Supporting Oscar for an Officer and a Gentleman. Did you see that?
Great
And an
movie.
Emmy for Roots.
Yep. He was in Roots.
87. There's a crazy story about him. I'm not going to read it. I don't have time. About him driving, and he drove his car into Hollywood, right? And he gets to Hollywood. I don't know if it was a red convertible or some red Mustang, and he got stopped driving into Hollywood. He got pulled over. And they checked him, and then he got back in the car and he drove on. He got pulled over again 3 times before he got to Beverly Hills. That was his introduction to California. And so, but we all know what it's like to be pulled over just for driving while black. That was his beginning in Beverly Hills and Hollywood. They couldn't believe how could he be there.
Oh, he ended up pretty good at acting while black too, didn't he?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get to the main story, which we talked about. Diddy.
Yo, ouch. Ooh.
Feds raided Sean Puffy Diddy. Which one is it, Puffy or Diddy? Homes,
Diddy.
properties in, well, I know that was supposed to be a joke. In LA, Miami on search warrants out of New York relating to an ongoing human trafficking investigation. So what's going on there? Anybody got any? Is it all smoke and mirrors? Is it all rumor? Is there substance there or what? Because I know he had a thing with Cassidy, right?
Cassie.
Right. Cassidy.
I know when the feds raid your house, it's probably a little more than rumor.
Yeah.
We'll see, obviously, but I mean
Obviously,
that's a significant step, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Diddy.
think they're gonna find something.
Oh, I'm like, whoa, man, on the heels of R. Kelly, this don't sound good at all. What's it?
They had like guns and stuff.
That means they've been watching for a minute.
They've been watching. Oh, of course, yeah, they've been watching for a minute. I just never understand why. I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying, why would anybody even think about doing something like that? What do we tell the kids all the time? Opportunity and good intention is not enough. You got all this, and you want to even think about doing something like that? We'll see. We'll see. You can't talk about celebrities. You know that, and they're protected.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I be talking about celebrities all the time.
Oh, you do? Okay. They used to call the show, man. Look, they used to call. Why you talking about him? He just doing what he got to do. He just handling his business. Why you talking about him? Cause he doing stuff. But that's nice. Thank you. I'm glad you did that.
Well, the thing about some of the allegations that he's allegedly the charges that he has it's kind of from the perspective of a civilian. It may not seem like trafficking, but they call it trafficking too. So some of the things that it sound. I'm not saying that it sounds worse, but for example, 50 Cent's baby mom's involved in it, and she's called a sex worker in it, and so the term sex worker is kind of harsh, considering maybe the fact that she might have just been a friend of P. Diddy, and they did what grown folks do. So yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying. You're not
defending.
I'm not defending.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, is 50 Cent smashing on him? I heard something like that.
Well, 50 Cent, he trolls a lot of people a lot. So.
And one of them in this case is
he's been trolling Diddy for years.
Oh, okay. So this is just another reason to troll him.
Yes.
I'm glad I'm a regular person. Okay. The celebrity is not all it is cracked up to be. I will say that. All right. You got any more news? Are we through? So we ready to jump in? All right. It's been a great month Women's History Month. We've dealt with some, what do we call it? What's that wonderful May song? Joy and pain, sunshine and rain. We dealt with a lot of joy and sunshine. Phenomenal women and phenomenal things that young people or people got, with words of wisdom they got from women. And Lady E released her book, and a phenomenal woman, and that's something good. Right. And we dealt with a little sunshine. Excuse me, pain and rain. And we're gonna this show does that. 2 weeks ago we had a show on human trafficking. I don't want to use phenomenal. A great show. It's a great show.
Powerful.
That show was too powerful. I mean, it was. Man, Lord, that show was. And tonight we're gonna deal with corollary, if you want to call it, cousin to it. I shouldn't use family word like that. In domestic violence. Show we've done before. And every time we do this show, there are certain shows, obviously, that we could do literally every week. The basis of this, we are a Stop the Violence show. It's all about keeping people alive and free. You got to do other stuff just so it's like working in the emergency room. You got to do some preventive medicine at the same time. But our bread and butter is, in the emergency room, and domestic violence is certainly fits that bill. And I found this article I wrote for the Huffington Post maybe 2 or 3 years ago when they let people like me write articles for the Huffington Post. And I wrote a piece called "Domestic Violence is Worse Than You Think, and It's Got to Stop." And what prompted this was the very high profile incident of Ray Rice, the football player, and his wife that was caught on camera, and him basically knocking her out. And I had a discussion with someone about the incident, and I knew domestic violence was bad, but it's worse than you think. It is worse than you think. And I think I've heard this before. Every so many seconds, anybody know that? Is it every 9 seconds a woman is hit or something like that? Some crazy second number. I mean, and this is a 2-hour show. So if I say this, how many?
I think it's less than 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's less. Yeah, it's some crazy number. And the other thing about that's still this, and I have to go there because you guys know me. Domestic violence is overwhelmingly men violence against women. Not that women don't engage in domestic violence, it's that is a much smaller number than men's violence against women. So we're going to get all in there tonight, and to do that, I brought back a couple of folks who can help. They have both been on the show before. And let's just, you guys just introduce yourselves, tell them what you do, and we're gonna just jump right into this. And callers, I want you to join in on this. It's a hard topic to talk about, but that's what we do. I'm gonna tell you the number right now: 877-955-1061, 877-955-1061. We'll take as many calls in the first hour. Your thoughts on domestic violence. I'm going to throw out a specific question. I couldn't get that out to you, but also if you have ideas about how to stop it, and if you've been a victim and want to talk about it, this is the place to do. So we'll start all the way over there and then come back this way. Our first guest is.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. It's LaShara Johnson. Since I think I've been on here, I've expanded. I've been on here probably 7 times.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
But my work has really changed in this area. So I do now a lot of prevention in regards to interpersonal violence, domestic violence. So I run prevention programs in the community to kind of combat what we're about to talk about today.
When did that happen? Because you just added to your portfolio. Is that correct?
I have consistently been doing a lot of work in the city of Richmond about gender-based violence. So working with the mayor and city council members to really form a task force to give input on policies and work with law enforcement and really work together to try to reimagine, life without violence. So it's really been an interesting journey, just hearing and working collaboratively with a lot of different organizations. And it takes a lot. Like when they say it takes a village, like it takes a lot of people to give their input. And we need survivors too, to amplify their voices and to feel safe. And we also need these organizations, law enforcement, the medical system, to really join in and team up to be able to support these families, because it's not just the victim, there's the victim, the batterer, the survivor, the children. Like it's a family. It's a health issue.
Absolutely. Good for you. I didn't know that. Oh, see, my instincts guided me. So I think we need to get can we get Sarah on here too? All right, Miss
Glad to be back.
You.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. I am Dr. Robertson. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm currently working in child psychology in my main job. And then in my private practice, I do a lot of family work and family individual work. And I'm so grateful to be here tonight to talk about this topic. We were kind of talking about it a little bit before the show, and how domestic violence, even though it happens isolated between individual to individual, it really is a systems and a family issue. It affects everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the community. So I do a lot of work with children who are witnessing, who are hearing, who are sleeping through, and even being affected directly by. So this is a very necessary conversation. I'm excited to be here to shed light on some very dark spaces.
Well, both of you have been excellent in the 2 times you've been here. And since I got answers to some things, huh? What
You keep saying 2.
Huh?
We've been here a lot of times.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
And all the times you've been here. All. A-L-L.
Oh.
Underline. Italicize. So let's begin here. Okay, let's begin here. You do relationship counseling too,
I
right?
do.
You do. Okay, so here, let's start here. 2 people meet, they start a relationship, right? All right. What goes wrong? I really want to start there. What goes wrong? Because I don't know. Or maybe, maybe it was wrong in the beginning. I thought about that after I posed this question. I said, what goes wrong? Maybe it was wrong before, and it just ended up, but what goes wrong? I don't think not everybody goes into it. We're going to have this relationship and we're going to end up fighting. We're going to be fighting each other, right? Something is going to come up, and then I'm going to knock somebody out. I'm going to hit somebody. I'm going to slap somebody. I'm going to cuss somebody out. I mean, domestic violence is, it's the physical violence, but it's also the verbal, all of that. What goes wrong? What goes wrong? We got 2 people, who like, I love you, you love me, blah, 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 blah. What goes wrong? In your opinion, what happens?
See, when you say it like that, it sounds as if there was an isolated incident that triggered.
I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
And so-
Y'all are experts.
Okay. So
Something happens.
I personally don't believe. I don't believe it just happens.
Okay.
I believe that there is an underlying current there,
Okay.
right? There's almost like a baseline of functioning. And it could be due to mental illness, substance abuse, history of trauma, psychopathy. Like it could be a lot of different things that are there. So when you say what goes wrong,
Yeah, literally.
I think that the person who will end up being a victim ignores red flags. That's what goes wrong, in my opinion.
Okay, no, we're writing this all down. By the way, 877-955-1061. You can jump in and tell me what you think goes wrong and what we can do to stop it. It's a huge problem. It's not getting any better. I think it got worse during the pandemic.
Absolutely
It did. And we're watching a movie right now that it's like the kids are watching. There's all kind of domestic violence in between this young college couple. Well, she was in college. He wasn't. I met. We'll talk about it. But it didn't start out that way, right? So, okay, underlying. I'm writing this down. I'm writing it down. So say again what you just said. Go ahead. You
There are classes, right, that people fit, categories that abusers fit into.
Okay.
The categories are psychopathy, which we would psychopathy. So those that are like a psychopath.
Oh, wow.
Psychopathy. Don't that just sound educated and good?
Yeah, but that sounds rough.
Substance abuse,
Substance abuse.
mental illness,
Uh-huh.
cognitions.
Okay.
And that in that class is expectations, resentments, entitlements, those kind of things. Those are the four main classes.
Okay, hold on to those. Okay, we're gonna get you. And we got a call already? Got a call? Got a call? All right. 877-955-1061. You are on Street Soldiers with Dr. Marshall, Lady Estelle, and our guests. Domestic violence. What goes wrong? What goes wrong, folks? I need your thoughts. Go right ahead.
So she was 100% right. It is definitely red flag, because I'm going to actually get really personal here, because it recently happened to me and there were so many red flags. I ignored them because I thought that he would change. I thought that I could help him. And she was right about the underlying baseline is what she said. Because it is substance. In this situation, it was substance abuse, and I wasn't aware that he was abusing. And it wasn't until he put his hands on me and got physical that I realized that something was wrong. And then it came out that he was abusing.
You didn't know any of this, obviously, and you never thought that he would do something like this, I'm assuming, right?
No, because he has this beautiful smile and he looks like a normal person. He has a really good job, makes like $100,000 a year.
Wow.
But it's like he's working just to like support his habit, is what it seems like, because he never has money. But that's what it is. It's the drugs. The drugs are what's making him behave that way, because he looks normal and obviously he's able to function like a normal person if he goes to work and brings money in. But there's other things that are happening, and like drugs they can influence you like in a lot of ways.
Sure.
You know, you don't know what you're doing when you're under the influence.
How bad did it get? Can I ask that?
He actually beat me up in front of our daughter and his mom, and the police came. And because his parents were there, his mom and dad, they told the police a false statement. He went to jail and he got out that same night. It only took him hitting me one time for me to leave.
There you go.
There you go. Oh, Lord, thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, and he did it in front of our daughter, and it really, really screwed her up. And she's only 18 months, you know? So I just want to let everyone know that it will get better as long as you want it to. You cannot sit around and expect things to happen when you're not willing to make a change, you know?
I'm so
Because
proud of you.
Yes.
I was abusing as well, and God is the one who got me through it. And so as long as you have Jesus, you can do anything.
I'm glad you got out of there, huh? There are women that stay in it and they rationalize. I know I've talked to them, right? I'm glad you got out.
Absolutely, because it doesn't get better.
Oh,
Statistics show
it don't get
that
better.
it gets worse. I am so proud of you. Thank you for your vulnerability and your bravery, for calling in and sharing that. It is our hope that somebody hears it and know that they too.
I know, and I hope that if anybody is afraid, there's a lot of help out there too, because the police were not on my side. Neither was the district attorney. They actually closed the case, and I was hoping that they would file the charges against him just so that he would never do it again, you know, and so that he could have a good relationship with his daughter. But he doesn't want sobriety. He doesn't want to co-parent. He just wants to use and abuse, and it's not okay.
You got to
So
take
thanks
care
y'all
of
for
you.
taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
So can we parents cover? Families who cover.
Yeah. 877-955. Oh, we got another call? Oh, all right. We're going straight to the calls when they call. You're on Street Soldiers. What goes wrong? We're talking about domestic violence. I know it doesn't start out this way, but you're on. Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, go right ahead. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. So I was dating this girl. This is white girl. That's where I went wrong. Right? Maybe I could have stayed in my own little community.
Hey, boss, call back, because we can't hear you. Call back when you got a better connection. Call us back. We want to hear what you got to say.
All right.
Thank you.
I think we need to speak up a bit.
877-955-1061. We're starting with the question: in these relationships in which domestic violence comes along, What goes wrong? What goes wrong? All right, we got another one. All right,
Another one?
go right ahead. You're on the air with Dr. Marshall.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Miss Adriana,
How are you? How
and
are you?
I'm in Hayward, calling from Hayward,
Thank you.
and I just wanted to say that domestic violence is one of those things that sometimes some people look at as like love,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sad to say that. It's sad that it's like that,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes people grow up in households where they they saw domestic violence and they took it into they adulthood, like this
Yes.
is the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And I went through the same thing. I was in domestic violence situations about 3 years ago, and fortunately for me, I was able to leave the situation as soon as it happened. But I know that the police really, I just feel like it's sad because the police don't really do things about it. They drop the cases, and to me it's like I feel like guys get a slap on the wrist sometimes for domestic violence if they don't feel like it was a bruise behind it or something like that. They really just don't take it too serious. But I just wanted to say for anybody that's out there dealing with it, sometimes the police, ain't the place to go. They dealing with situations that to them is, 911. And sometimes when you having ongoing problems like that, you have to reach out to, different facilities, women's shelter help. That's where I got a lot of my help from.
Yes.
From the battered and women's shelter.
You are.
So I just wanted to put that out there and just tell my survivor story that that's not the way to go. And once it happens, it's hard, but you just gotta leave.
Let me ask you.
You gotta
Let me ask
leave.
you. Did you grow up in a home with domestic violence, or did you expect?
When I grew up,
Go ahead.
yeah, I actually grew up in a house with an uncle and cousins that was, I seen it from the male side, from actually, the males hitting on the women.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, my grandma tried to intervene, and my family members, they wasn't raised like that. But I guess the anger and, just over time, they, that's what they developed into. So I seen it from the male side, and I seen the women just stay. And I could never understand, cause my uncle, I love my uncle. So when I seen him do it, I never understood how he could love me, love my grandmother, and love the women in his family and not want it done to us, but do it.
Right.
So that's kind of how I grew up, just lost with it, not really understanding it. Dang, if you love us, you should love all women. You wouldn't want nobody to hit your mom or your sister or your daughter if you had one. So, why would you want to, do it to someone else? And, that's just my take on it.
Yeah,
But I never had my dad wasn't in home.
Let me ask you, do you think that set you up for what happened when you got in a situation?
Honestly, yes, because I was trying to try to understand the person that I was in a relationship with, and, try to I guess I had felt sorry for him, and that led me to dating, people from backgrounds and places that I probably shouldn't have been, but just, growing up like that and having an uncle and cousins that was loving to me, but on the flip side, doing things that I didn't understand at the time was wrong. As I got older, I guess I had that hope that, people can change and, it wouldn't be like that. But, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt because, our relationships don't just start out bad. It's something that happened that took it to that place, it was good when it was good and then it got bad when it got bad. So
how are you doing now?
Some people,
how are you doing now? You doing okay now?
I'm doing good now. I'm single now. I'm just trying to find myself.
Understandable.
After that happened, because my kids witnessed that. my grandmother was knocked down to the ground when I was abused. And so that just like, now I just feel like I need to find me,
Yes.
So I won't keep allowing myself to, allow people in my life or, not see the signs or not have the strength to leave, because I know it's not easy for everybody just to,
That's true.
up and leave situations like that, So
Congratulations.
right now I just want to find myself and love myself to where I won't, feel the need. Like, that's not love, and I don't want to, just date somebody and think that's love. So, but first I have to love me enough to understand that.
Wow.
Good stuff. You're talking good.
Talking
We're proud
great.
of you.
You're
We're
talking
absolutely
great.
proud of you.
SOS has gone out. Save our
Yes.
sisters. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, wow. Wonderful. All right. You're on Street Soldiers with the Street Soldiers. We're talking about domestic violence and these relationships. When does it go wrong is what we're asking. Go right ahead.
Hey, man, it's Mac. I'm from Richmond. My personal opinion, I feel like, when two people come together and, in the beginning, when things are working out, it's great. But I feel like there comes a point in a relationship where, that man and that woman start to not value each other. And the love starts to turn into kind of a disrespectful relationship because they both stop valuing each other the way that they did when they first met each other, because they've been around probably, say, for 1, 2, 3, maybe 8 months, a year, 2 years, and they've been around each other so long that these people tend to, like, not value each other anymore, as opposed to when they first met each other,
Yeah.
So the love, instead of honesty, it becomes not honesty and pure, but more as a disrespectful honest. You know what I mean? Because, there's always ways to communicate about things, and communication is one of the biggest things in a relationship.
Sure.
And I feel like, the way that you value somebody is going to, show with the way you choose to communicate.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Let me ask you this. Everything you're saying, it makes sense to me. Relationships have ups and downs and twists and turns. It's the violence that gets me, right? Well, how does the violence enter into it? Then you're not getting along with somebody. You don't value the person. That's a big step from hitting somebody. That's
You know what? That's true. That's true. Only thing that I can think of, you know what I mean, is just, just people just, they grow apart and they stop valuing each other. And, like I said, it gets to the point where it gets disrespectful. You know what I mean? I've been with women in my past where I've had love, major love for them. You know what I mean? But after a while, they stop talking the way they used to talk to when, you first met them, and, they expect the same treatment. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro, I get all of that. No, I'm just wondering. I'm just trying to figure. It seems like, here's what it seemed like to me. You got a problem. You got an issue. You disrespectful, whatever. And the way a lot of, I'm gonna use men in this instance, because it's overwhelmingly men against women. The way to solve the problem or to deal with the problem is through violence. And why do people turn to that? I mean, why do they turn to that when they got the issue? Why can't they just say, I'm gone? Let's break up. You go your way, I go my way.
I would just say just the passion, emotion, and love at that moment. It's probably a chemical reaction that breaks people through the roof and makes them snap. You know what I mean? Like, when you're going through all those emotions at one time, I'll be honest, you know what I mean? I've been in those situations where I've snapped before, you know what I mean? And just as a man, speaking to everybody, you know what I mean? Like, it's not right. It's not right. But, hey, it's just something in that moment that there's like a chemical reaction with the love and, it's just everything all put together that just makes a man snap. You know what I mean?
That's where I want to go, bro. And man, look, not a lot of dudes will say what you just said. Okay, so I really appreciate You're talking about what what happened with you. And that's where I want to go. I want to go to that moment, to that chemical reaction, whatever it is. And that's where I want that's when I wanted to stop. That's where I wanted to, at that moment, when all of that comes up, the feelings, and you said it very well, that we don't turn to that. Because when we turn to that, that's when it gets all bad, right? That's when it gets all bad. And I hope that we can learn how not to do that. I really do. In fact, in the second hour, we're going to have somebody that works with men just talk about that, right? We have to learn how not to do that. Whatever comes over us, that's the one thing we can't do. Because, see, slapping, I seen people, they killing,
They are.
They are killing. I mean, they make a whole TV show on that, Fatal Attraction, right? Come on. They got an episode every day, 5 or 10 episodes a day, because somebody, used violence, fatal violence, when all that came up. And I think we gotta do something about that.
For sure. I mean, there's some things that I think we all may say, like, there's something I just will never do. Like, there's some places you'll never find me. Like, that's just a core value of mine. And talking to men, I know that there's men that are like that. There's just some things you'll just never see them do. And being violent towards a woman or a person is one of those things. So I often ask guys when they're having these conversations and they're sharing, is this that thing? Because if it's like, well, I'll just snap. And it's like, well, how do we get from I'll just snap to changing your core value on what you find valuable? Because we're using the word love. And in my mind, it's like, sometimes I think even the men are using that word and it's not always what it is. It's not love most times. It's a lot of your ego. It could be your past traumas. It can be, failure to regulate. You might have something else going on, like the woman shared, and she was like, well, he was using. The drug was the driver. That desire was, there's plenty of people who use and they don't harm anybody. They just go off and do their own thing. You see them in 6 months. But they're not out here harming people. And so the drugs lower the inhibition. So whatever you was thinking or had thought about or felt, that drug just opened it up and you just acted.
You know what I asked him, LaShara? I asked him, is that you?
Yeah.
Is that you? Is that you?
And I'm glad that the guy asked
said,
that.
is that I phrase it, is that you? Is that you? Are you really, is that the way you are? I'll tell you what the answer I get a lot of times. Hi, you're on Street Soldiers. We're asking what goes wrong in these relationships. Thank you for calling.
Oh, wow. I can't believe I actually got through.
You got through.
So are we talking about what goes on in relationships or what goes on with what kids experience in the relationship?
No, this is domestic violence, right? It's showing domestic violence. And my point is relationships don't start off violent. At least people hope that they're not going to start. Oh, turn your radio down. I'm sorry. Yeah, because we're getting feedback.
Okay.
I hear myself.
Hey, Google, turn down to level 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And so when they start, they're all, everybody's got high hopes. Something goes wrong where the violence becomes part of the relationship. And so what I'm asking folks is what goes wrong? What do they think goes wrong?
I'm a principal, and I think that some things, I think the child is not thought of.
But what if you don't have children? See, you don't have children. I'm talking about two people, right? Because this happens to people that don't have children. The person just violence enters into
domestic violence.
Yeah.
I think there's an issue with the person understanding who they are as an individual, their self-worth.
Okay.
And then trying to find themselves and trying to define themselves by the individual that they are with.
Meaning, but why does that turn to violence, though?
It turns to violence because you are blindsided, because you are trying to think of what it is you are lacking, and you get a false glimmer of hope of what it is you are lacking, and then that person happens to be what you are not looking for.
And that means you got to hit them?
I think she's talking about from the
victim
side.
No.
The victim is not aware or trying to find, what they lack, and they have a sense of hope in the abuser.
I see. I'm
that
sorry.
things
I'm
may
change.
change.
Okay, I see where
that things may change.
Okay.
Yeah. It's we're drawn to what we're looking for something. Women are looking for something to fulfill them. And so the gentleman that they find who actually steps in to their world and gives them all that feeling of hope and fullness and life of defining of who they are as a woman, that is how they are easily pulled in.
Okay.
And when that person feels that they have got them, then, I feel like that is where they are vulnerable as a woman and that they can be a victim of domestic violence.
I have heard that. I have seen that. I have this film I'm watching right now is of a young lady.
So I'm an educator. I'm a principal, and what I really want to say is that what's missing in the conversation is the impact on the children that I have to deal with at school.
Yes.
The children act out what they see at home.
Mm-hmm.
They act out what they see at home in an effort to try and feel there's something that the baby is trying to feel in terms of acceptance, but they're acting out what they see at home.
I think sometimes it's not they're acting out what they see. I think they're just reacting to the environment.
All of that
and
they're into the classroom.
It's a lot if you think about it. I've had an experience, but it's like if you have a child or children and there was domestic violence the night before or in the morning on the way to school, they're not as focused. So they're not probably always hitting anyone else, but they're now a disruption. They're now, not able to, their grades may start to slip. They may start to lose interest in things that they found very interesting.
Yeah, I hear that, but I'm talking about babies that are like in transitional kindergarten. They have not been at school before. Like these are children, I feel, I have a baby right now who I've seen has witnessed domestic violence. And when he doesn't want to do something he wants to do, he says no, and then he starts hitting adults.
Oh,
Mimicking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. No, they're carrying all of that with them.
I'm just trying to say domestic violence is real. I acknowledge it, and I appreciate KMEL for bringing the panel on. Thank you, Dr. Robertson. I just want to say we're not addressing some of the things that we should also consider.
Got it.
It's impacting children.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is for sure on our agenda tonight.
Thank you for highlighting that.
Thank you. We get one more? Get one more? Could do one more? All right, let's take this one. We got one more call. You're on Street Soldiers. Turn your radio down. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I turned it down.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. Your thoughts on this?
I want to talk. Yeah, I want to talk about the domestic violence.
Okay. Go.
Oh, okay. So I apologize. So in my opinion, I believe that we are all creatures of habit, right? And most of this behavior is learned behavior. A lot of times we grow up and, during our programming, we allow violence to be an option and not necessarily allow it, but we see it as an option. So therefore, because of our, nature to mock, that's how we in turn, address our issues as adults. Yeah. And a lot of times when people feel like they're out of other options and they feel as though they don't have any leverage as far as getting their point across or, getting whatever their desire is, their arsenal is, you have to look into the toolbox. And if that's what they have in their toolbox, then that's what they use.
Yeah, I agree with
but,
you.
So I don't think that it's necessarily because of some type of, well, I'm sure a chemical reaction has to do with it, but I think that it's all learned behavior. I think that there's people who have been taught that this is not the option. This is what we do. We talk about things, we address things, and, we break things down in a more a verbal way. But everyone is not taught that, and unfortunately, especially in the community of the African-American community, we see a lot of violence even outside of our home. So you don't necessarily have to see your mother and father fighting. However, you can see the neighbors doing it, or you can, as long as it gets programmed, somehow it gets deposited in your programming, then it becomes an option. Now, why people lose control, because ultimately at the end of the day, we have choices, right? So even though those are options, it doesn't mean we have to choose that option. But when your options are limited, then you go, and especially in the heat of the moment, you go to what you know. So, you know, that's my opinion on what the domestic violence.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. What an hour. What a bunch of calls. Man, they gave you a lot for you to talk about in this second hour.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's exactly
Them
what
calls
we do.
flew in as soon as you said.
All right.
We're going to keep up the conversation.
Yep. We're going to
Yep.
tell them how we're going to continue the conversation.
Yes.
And you're so good at this.
We're not done yet. So go ahead and go to youtube.com and head on over to @StayAliveAndFree, and you can join us there.
Hour number two, alive and free. Street Soldiers Radio. Wow, what a first hour. Oh my God, what a first hour. We're talking about domestic violence as we wrap up this month of March. And just had some amazing calls. Our guests in the studio are Doctor.
We here.
I like saying Dr. Sabrina.
I like hearing it.
I like that, Doctor. You know why? Because I paid for this.
Yes.
You paid for that. Okay,
Yes.
we have to use it all the time. But in these situations, we use it, Dr. Sabrina Robertson and LaShara Johnson, who I found out that's your goddaughter.
That's my baby.
I didn't even know that, man. I didn't even know
6
that.
degrees of separation.
I didn't know that. And she sent me this picture, all chilling at the house. So yeah, I had to have both of you on. And we are joined this hour by, let's see, Clifford Gahagan. Clifford, can you turn on your camera so we can see you? So we can see you. So we can see you. Oh, well, he hasn't turned on his camera yet. And the legendary, there he is. Thank you, Mr. Hagan. And the legendary, can I use legendary Dr. Craig Adams? Can I get you to turn on your camera, sir? All right. Thank you both for joining us. And I don't know, that first hour was just amazing. It was amazing. The live callers to the show talking about domestic violence, and the question I posed to them. Well, let's put it like this. One thing we did establish is that it's pretty common, all too common. And overwhelmingly it's men's violence against women, although not exclusively. And so I started the conversation with the question, asking the listeners and our two guests here in the studio, what goes wrong? What goes wrong? When you get together and you have a relationship, what goes wrong? It starts out in you actually have a honeymoon. You got a honeymoon and you think it's all gonna be good and wonderful, but then things come up, as our people say, things come up. And way too often, violence happens. And let me just put it out there, death happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's a show called Fatal Attraction. And so it turns to death. And it's so common, it's people swear off relationships because they just don't, I don't know. So let me start with you, Clifford, and I thank you for joining us. I got a recommendation. Actually, she found you. Dr. Robertson found you because you do work with men through your program, Changing Directions. And I'll let you start and you tell us about the work that you do and what you have learned when it comes to helping people who are perpetrators or victims of domestic violence. You gotta unmute, my brother. You gotta unmute. There you go. Maybe Ann can unmute you, or you can unmute you, or we're trying. There we go. All right. Thank you. Go right ahead. We can hear you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, actually, we deal with men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So we have domestic violence classes for men and women, English. Who are, most of them are sentenced to, 52 weeks of domestic violence or whatever. But What was that first experience that, what did you learn that at? Because we have a lot of people, and there's so many things that, I mean, you have to look at, I mean, a lot of what's going on in the world, in society. People are stressed out. All of these kind of things contribute to people and how they react to different things. People learn how to react to different experiences in different ways. Some people can become really violent. I mean, they can become violent. That's what they do. I mean, and then when we talk with them, we find out that they were raised in a family where there was violence. They came up in violence. They watched their father beat their mother, or they have that experience where you when you get upset, you strike someone. People have been abused. You may not know that when you get in a relationship, but you get involved with someone, and then all of a sudden you see a side that you didn't see.
Yeah.
So, a lot of that is, and it has to do with the way you think and what your experience has been. And women and men, we find women have been abused, then they became abusers. Same thing, with men. I mean, you've been bullied. I was bullied as a kid, then I became a bully. So, in order to address this issue, we need to look at, crime. I mean, now they've changed the laws where you can run up in the store and you can grab stuff, and people have attitudes, and, there's all sorts of things that contribute to an individual becoming violent. And we usually have to, talk with people and get them to share what their experiences has been, going all the way back to childhood, coming all the way up, because it's not something that you could just say, oh, well, you were cool, all of a sudden you just became this person. No, something happened. Something taking place.
Yeah. It's a tough thing about domestic violence is that it's mixed with the sacred word. The 3 sacred words, I think, that set us up. Friends, family, and love. Those are sacred words that allow people to get on the inside and are not able to protect yourself like you would the word enemy. Like you enemy, that's my enemy. Okay. But that's my friend. You don't expect your friend to really do something. Your family? Oh Lord, not my family. My daddy would never do that, right? He caller said that, right? And love, that word, whoa. And domestic violence is so it's mixed with love. And you hear the word love used in domestic violence. So it's almost unfair in a way, because it's not love, but love is in there. And I think that just, oh man, nobody expects their lover to, you love me, why you hit me upside the head? And they actually say that. So it's this. I want to thank you for doing. We're coming back to you. I want to get Dr. Allen here to give his first take on this, and then we can all jump in on a discussion because we're here to stop the stuff. That's what we do. We're here to stop it, and we're here. If people gonna be in these love relationships, we don't want to be violent.
No,
and because that is not healthy. Go right ahead, sir.
Can I say this? I have just quickly. I have a question that I ask people, and when you say love, I ask them, how can you hurt something that you love?
Right. Excellent question. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. All right, the legendary one, Lady Estelle, come on and say hi to him in person. Can you say hi to Dr. Greg Adams? Dr. Adams, it is so wonderful to see you. You have been, man, look, he shouldn't have retired. I want to pull him out of retirement. How you doing, my brother? Unmute and say hi. Ann will get you unmuted. Hold on, Ann's going to help unmute you. Okay, 5, 4, all right. Hello, sir.
Hello to everybody. It's just a blessing to be back again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Long time. You know, it's funny. I was looking for somebody and I saw your website and I went on there and it said the best therapist in Hayward, California. That's what it actually said. And it was, I don't think it was you who said that. I think it was the people who, who rate people and say, this is the person to see. And certainly, you're right up there. Well, it's hard to say somebody's best, but
you must have looked up Yelp or something. I don't have a website.
Well, on the website, but it was Yelp or one of the yes. It popped up. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
Well, how you been? And I've talked to you twice since then. And how's everything going?
Everything is going well, adjusting to retirement and trying to do a wonderful job of disappearing, though I get pulled out every once in a while. But we're going to run out of time. I really want to get to this topic. This is a very important topic.
Yeah.
And I kind of look at it from the preventative perspective. That's why I'm on today. Yeah. The whole issue of domestic violence really needs about 4 hours instead of the time that's been allotted right here.
Certainly.
But I go from the point of view when relationships have first started, how do you know that the person you're teaming up with is healthy and best for you? In fact, Dr. Marshall, the book that I mentioned that you had me come on, I wrote is Do You Love Me? And learning to love in a way that can be recognized and felt. Now, the issue is, how do you team up with someone that you can truly guarantee this person cares for me, this person loves me? And I believe after 47 years of practice, it comes down to recognizing individuals' needs. A problem that we have is we tend to try to love people the way that we want to be loved instead of the unique way that person can receive love. And then the frustrations build up. And then those that have poor impulse control end up being violent, either verbally or emotionally or physically or whatever. But how do you know whether that person loves you? And through my book, I have an operational definition of love, because a lot of people use the word. When I'd have them define what they meant by love, it was so sad and sometimes comical, is ridiculous. But the operational definition of love that I use is acknowledging the needs of another person and being willing to sacrifice your needs to make sure theirs are met. And if you've teamed up with someone that is not willing to sacrifice their needs to make sure yours are met without attitude, that person doesn't love you. I don't care what comes out of your mouth. Baby, 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 I love you does not matter. The behavior indicates where the heart is, not the mouth. So in my book, I've systematically demonstrated how to develop scenarios to test people. First, I have each individual learn what are your high needs, because I found out most people don't even know what their high needs are. And then how to read the needs of another person. And if you have opposite needs, that's fine. That's not the issue. The issue is the person willing to sacrifice for you? And if they're sick emotionally, behavior disorders, they don't know how to feel you out and sacrifice. If like the brother said, if they've learned inappropriate behavior, they don't know how to sacrifice. But you can systematically set up scenarios to test the individual without them even knowing they're being tested, to see, even though my needs are different than yours, will you sacrifice for me before I begin to invest in you? Because most of our decisions are made emotionally, not logically. We fall in and out of love all the time. That's emotion. But if you're going to be in a long-term relationship, you better know, is this person going to be willing to sacrifice for me for the duration? And when you're sacrificing for someone, you're willing to forgive. You're willing to work toward making amendments. Your pride gets kicked out of the picture. If there's any competition in the relationship, it's who can give more than the other, not who can take more.
It's kicked out. Ego has its own place. I need to have an amen corner over here.
Amen.
I gotta ask. I know a whole lot of people shouldn't be together based on that. Let me just say that. I know a whole lot of folks that didn't do that kind of work before they got together. But and I want to ask both of you and everybody in here, why is it overwhelmingly men's violence against women? I mean, is it that women aren't taught to hit back, or what is it? Because I know a whole lot. Why is it overwhelmingly, in your opinion, and everybody here? Because see, it makes me think there's something going on with men more so, just because it's overwhelmingly men against men's violence against women.
Well, very quickly, my opinion. And I was on a committee for domestic violence, a presentation, and they had a new department with the city of Oakland for domestic violence. And the police officer in charge said that the majority of the time when that male strikes out at that woman, the first attack is usually to choke her. And the reason is because females have 3 times the number of neurons in the part of the brain for talking, the linguistic system. So females can usually out-talk men and make that man feel ignorant, trying to argue with the woman that's just spinning circles around him. And the only way he can quiet her down is to grab her and either hit her or choke her. And it's like, we can't verbalize. Most of us cannot articulate what's going on as quickly as that woman. So we become frustrated, and because we are just larger and stronger, we result in some Cro-Magnon type response rather than trying to logically sit down and work things through.
Cro-Magnon. All right, Dr. That's the truth.
That's so we can't handle the words. That's what you're saying. And then we go to stop the words.
we usually get frustrated because we cannot verbalize our feelings and where we are as rapidly and as quickly as females.
Okay.
Even with children, little girls tend to learn to talk before little boys do.
Okay.
And we get out talked until the day we die.
Dr. Marshall.
Yeah, good job. I never heard it explained that way.
Listen, I'm on Amazon right now trying to order this book.
Yeah, I wrote the book down.
Well, let me give you a picture of the book. And it's good. It's good to put my name in first, and then the question, do you love me? Because I found out there are a lot of other books with that title.
I found it.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get you the book. I never heard it really explained that way before. But I know a lot of brothers, they get frustrated and they talk about, man, talk so much. That's what they say. They say, talk, I can't stand to talk. And therefore, I'm like, well, brother, I say, man, you ain't got to handle it that way. If you don't like that, just walk away, or,
For some people, walking away is not their first option.
Agreed.
But there's a lot of societal things that drive this. One, men are stronger than women. Women at one point were property of men. A lot of women, they weren't even allowed to do and be as independent. So there's a lot of things that can contribute to why is it that men mostly abuse? Like, why is this a gender-based violence? Why is it men who are the perpetrators?
Yeah.
So it really, there it is. What Mr. Craig just shared, and then also those societal things. So just like I think one of the callers said, like Oakland PD or the police department, and I say Oakland PD because there is a judge who's retired now. Her name is Judge Judy Johnson, and her and a group of phenomenal lawyers, they did a lawsuit against OPD because they found that a large amount of the cases that were coming through to them, they were not making arrests.
Yeah,
because there was a law in place that said that if a man was called, if law enforcement was called out and they weren't to arrest the man because they were not to embarrass him in front of his wife, and that was a home matter.
Wow.
So if it's a home matter and they're told by law to not, just imagine if the man is in law enforcement and they get called. So like there's so many things that kind of allow this culture to continue or to happen. And it's really unfortunate. And I think the biggest thing we can do really is to try to focus on the preventative matters. But I think it's very important for everyone to understand, like you said, how do we get here? And a lot of it starts in childhood. A lot of men who witnessed their parents or somebody be abused, they're most likely to be an abuser. And just like the young lady who shared, she said she saw it wasn't her, but her uncle and other relatives. So there's so many, and I think what's so key is what you do after the trauma for that child.
But see,
or that
I
person.
know men who were taught, literally, what's it? Don't let your woman talk to you like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They wasn't abused. That's just they were taught by other men.
Culture.
Hey, don't hate it. No man, you gonna let your woman talk to you like that?
Their
Look,
culture
and
and
they are
environment.
sincere as hell.
Mhm.
No, they ain't playing. They're like, dude, man, you better handle it.
Yeah.
Handle
In a lot of cultures
handle
like
is
that.
a key word. You better handle it.
So can I raise a prevention question? First of all, Dr. Craig Adams, it is an honor. It is an honor. From the clinical perspective, I love the fact that we're talking about prevention, because if we have prevention, we don't need intervention. We don't need the police
Amen.
to cut it
Amen.
off, right? So how do we slow people down long enough to do their own assessment, to find out, do you love me? We are in this microwave society where we go from meeting to dating to being in a relationship in less than 10 days. How do we slow it down
Married
long
at first
enough
sight.
to get people to do the work of assessing?
And that's a very good question.
Before you do that, let me do this.
Okay.
Both of that. I want to tell you to start. So we're watching this movie. We're watching the movie, and you can see the movie. It's called Kimba. The Kimba Smith was a young lady who went to Hampton, and her first year there, freshman, she got involved with this drug dealer. You know, he was a drug dealer. Typical story. Yeah,
think I
I'm
heard
call
the
it.
story.
Yeah. Well, it's all out now. She ended up fell in love. We just saw the scene where she finds out he's dealing drugs. You know, so to me, I'm running.
Red flag.
But she didn't run. She let it go. And then here's the thing. He couldn't find her one night, and she's dancing with another guy. She's 19 years old. And then he takes her, man, he's, what? You dancing with someone? Yeah. And then it's funny. He says, you can't be dancing with nobody else. And he throws her down, slaps her around, and then he chokes her. And so you said choke. I realized, that's what he choked her, right? And so we're watching this scene, and the kid's like, well, yeah. So, and I'm saying this, you'll get why I'm saying this. So I stopped and I asked the kids, all she was doing was dancing. These are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. You know what they said?
She disrespected him.
She disrespected him. He can't dance with nobody else. Would you let your wife dance? This is a kid. They'll dance with somebody else. I said, yeah, she want to dance with somebody. She can dance with somebody. He said, you crazy. These kids had already learned growing up about, quote, relationships and what's supposed to go on and what's not supposed to go on. And did they have a conversation about wisdom? And so I'm saying it's already planted.
Relationship dynamic.
Get to you when they are hooked up, you got a lot of undoing to do because they already got these done. And that boy told me, yo, you gonna let your wife dance with somebody else or something? But you crazy, Dr. Marshall. I said, man, what am I gonna do? Follow her around like I'm the FBI? But Dr. F, now ask that question because stuff starts. They just kids.
But they're just kids at 15. They're already dating.
I know
they
that.
already got a body
I know
count.
that. I know that.
At
And I
11.
know that. And I remember when I saw Love and Basketball and he kissed her and they became basketball and he already had an idea how she was supposed to do. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. And it was 11 to 12. So Lord.
And he pushed her.
So can the esteemed panel answer my question, please? Esteemed gentlemen of the feet.
Mr. Cliff over there going crazy. He's like, let me say it.
That's what we talk about. I want to know, where was the seed planted?
Yeah.
When did your reactions become violent? What did you learn that at? Did you see that in your household when you were young? Because it's about being able to, we have a chart and it's defects of character. And so we have all these defects of character that we point out, like, are you controlling? Are you selfish?
Are they feeling it out honestly?
Because my thing is, the way you think is the single most important thing that it is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
About your life, the way you think about who you are, the way you think about your experiences that you've had, because you have a lot of folks that, from my experience and people that I deal with, because I usually get people sentenced to 52 weeks of domestic violence. A lot of them have drug and alcohol problems. A lot of them have been gang affiliated. So I'm trying to understand them by understanding the way that they think and where did they learn the things that they learned. Because I feel like once you can get a person to kind of open up and explain the experiences that they have, and I could, like everything you guys were saying, I'm like, yeah, well, but there's that because I was raised in a dysfunctional family. They may not say it that way, but they say, I grew up, it was always violence. We was always fighting. We was always doing this and doing that. See, I want to know where it's okay to be violent. Because I don't believe you should put your hands on a woman at all.
I don't believe you put your hands on nobody.
Yeah, nobody. Because you need to, obviously there's something going on there. Because when you strike a person, where did you learn how to strike a person? And what triggers that in you? Those are the kind of questions.
So Dr. Cliff, I love those questions from the batterer's perspective, right? Because they have to be honest. But for the unsuspecting woman or from the unsuspected victim, how can she know that there's still work that needs to be done? That was the question I asked. How can we slow potential victims down long enough for them to do their work so that they no longer overlook red flags? They no longer lean into potential. I mean, at some point, come to me potential. Do your work.
Well,
so that we're not creating trauma bonds.
That's a very legitimate question. It's a very legitimate question because there's so much confusion out there. And especially as African Americans, our history is a history of confusion when it comes to violence. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times when I was treating women that they would try to explain to me, he hits me because he loves me. If he didn't care, he wouldn't hit me.
Yep.
And I'm saying, let's go way back as to where that came from. As Brother Clifford was saying, there's a seed that's planted here. And how do you turn this around? Now, when you have domestic violence groups that you're court ordered to attend, you have a captive audience. You can take the time and you can see how long and how difficult the work is to get these men to self-examine. But most of the audiences are not captive audiences. So unless we begin to incorporate this into our academic programs, like I would get called into situations when I was working, the Deltas, community colleges, high schools, to talk with individuals, the kids, the young adults, to explain to them what they need to look for in these situations before they're caught up in them. But unless it's incorporated in, it's almost like we need financial training. We need relationship classes. We need, and these are revelations that you do not encounter any other way until you've experienced a situation if they don't incorporate it into our educational system. So that's the only preventative way I know, because our media, the TVs, the movies, the songs, all of it incorporates violence and sex. So how do you get the opportunity of planting the seeds of healthiness?
That's right.
And I only know if it gets incorporated into a regular academic setting that the kids, as a captive audience, have to go through, especially once they've hit puberty.
I know I mean, as a man, I can say this. I say men are just, it's so linked to manhood. It's crazy. It's so part of us being a man, which we don't even know what it is, but that violence piece is, look, they used to make me fight just because I'm 5 years old. Fight him. Well, why I won't fight him? Cause. And they use the word cause, right? And then they come up with some crazy reason, and you don't be a little this, don't be that, don't be so-and-so. I know that it's programmed into us as men. I know that.
It's programmed, but it can be turned around. Before I retired, one of the last contracts I took was working with the EMS program, where they would take men off the streets, young boys, young men, older boys, to train them to be emergency medical service providers. And the first thing I would tell them is you are so confused that you do not know you are supposed to be the protectors of your community, not the violators of your community. Mm-hmm. You don't know that you are supposed to be serving your children and your women, not expecting them to serve you. You have been so twisted and poisoned that, and especially in the African-American community, we are the only community that will stand by and watch our women be abused and not stand up for them because you have been poisoned. And you had to be rough in there because when they would hear that the first time, they were ready to, they'd be jumping out of their chairs.
Oh, absolutely, man. No brother want to hear that, man.
And I'd let them know, now be careful because you're encountering a man this time. So be careful. I'm going to train you boys on how to be men. But by the time within a 6 to 8 week period, you'd be amazed at the change that would occur once the confusion was eliminated. And you'll also be amazed at how many of these young brothers are now on your police department and fire departments as paramedics and whatnot, because they finally get it. But they were actually being paid like they were going to school to come to this program. There was no other motivation to get them there.
Well, I wanted to share. I agree with Mr. Adams as far as like the education, and it's so important for the preventative work. I'm currently being a technical assistant to De Anza High School, and they're doing a program called Dating Matters, and it's a CDC certified program, and they're talking to ninth graders about teen dating violence, domestic violence. They're talking about sex. They're talking about all of the things. It's really if you remember the DARE program, it's like that, but it's focused more so on relationships and your social emotional progress and like where they are. And there was a concern because the material, the curriculum was for youth ages 9 to 12, but these are like 14, 15-year-olds. And they're like, well, do you think it's too juvenile? And I'm like, no, there are adults who need this curriculum.
Yeah. Oh,
like it's so powerful. And before I could say I tested it on these kids, or I'm testing it on them because they're still doing it now. I was able to do a second version, which is for parents. And I did it in the Laotian community, and they speak about 4 languages. And then I also did it in the Nepali community. And actually, we're all saying the same thing. We're not talking about these things. And this domestic violence is happening. And there are people, yes, and there are people in these communities who they're watching, they're seeing it. They try to intervene, but they can't. But one thing that I noticed that a lot of us have in common, or there's just a commonality, unfortunately, is our socioeconomic status. Because people who are in impoverished, low income, immigrant communities are more susceptible to violence because there are so many, as I've been using this word, I don't even know where I came from, but drivers, such as finances. And
I gotta say, but this happens across.
Yeah, it does.
Across socioeconomic background, right? Yeah, this happens in affluent communities. This happens with rich people.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's what
it may
people
not make it
so
to the
shocked,
newspaper,
but it does.
but TV.
Yeah.
But this happens in all white community, black community, all over the world. And that's why I'm doing. That's why, at least for me, the overwhelming is, so there's this film that because I got to get to these brothers. See, because my thing is, I don't care what the other person is doing. You only control over you.
Right.
Now, if you don't like what she's saying, she can't, okay, that ain't got nothing to do with you. But you can, what you do, you control yourself. Just like you tell her, look for the things, all right? Has nothing to do with you. But men got this thing of we are, I mean it, we are really socialized to use violence, right? And it's part of our male DNA because that's how we're taught. And for me, my best tool for this is that there's a film, and Ann knows we use this film called The Mask You Live In, right?
Yeah.
And it's an excellent film. And it's actually made by Governor Newsom's wife. And it's funny because while we're watching this film on Kimber Smith, and the film is about her, the other side of the story is the gentleman that did it, right? And there wouldn't have been a battered Kimber Smith if it wasn't for the batterer Khalif. So if I can get to Khalif, no matter what Kimber does,
Yeah.
you know, there ain't gonna be no battering, right? So
Right.
I got this month we gonna spend on him. What is going on inside of him that because
Right.
to me it has nothing to do with her. This has to do with you. And it's funny because a lot of times we're telling women who are in this way to work on yourself. I'm telling these brothers, work on yourself. You got to work on yourself so you don't become the person that hits somebody. And this film is a great film and and I'm showing it to the kids.
So can I ask the question to Mr. Cliff, Dr. Cliff? Can Khalif be reformed? I think that's always a question too. Is it once a batter, always a batter, or can that be reversed? And if so, what's the trajectory for that?
Well, I have a lot of people who have changed. I've had really violent people who basically got in all kind of trouble, you know, did whatever. And then people that have never been to jail, but just had this, you know, this kind of anger and mentality. And so it's just like he just said, it's the individual. I want to know how you got the way that you are. And I know it has to do with the way you think and what you've been exposed to. So that's what we do. You know, we believe it's an inside job. So
yeah, I like that.
We ask a lot of questions and we basically want to know about that person's experience, and we have them to be able to where they can talk. And, you know, hopefully, you know, the thing is making people comfortable enough to be able to share some of those things, because a lot of people don't talk about things. And so once that happens, then you begin to see why this person is the way that they are. Then that's when we come in and we try to help them to be able to see why they are the way that, you know, they are. And that's why I always say it's the way you think. Some people have come up where, I mean, they came up, you know, that's been their environment. They're a product of their environment. That's all they know. And the thing about it is it's become normal.
Yeah, it becomes normal. Oh yeah.
It's normal for them to be the way that they are.
So what I hear you saying,
let me say something. There's a couple of commandments that we learn. We call them commandments. Okay?
Yeah.
Commandments. As men, we take these to heart. I ain't gonna let nobody disrespect me. Period. Right. and when that's in you, anything can be interpreted as disrespect. All right?
Yeah.
Anything. Coming from a woman, anything. Coming from another man. The other commandment that we learn is I ain't gonna be no punk. If that behavior is associated with punking you or disrespecting you, because that's how we think. Those are things that we learn early. I'm talking about early. In fact, when you go to school, your mama tell you, nobody disrespect you, right? So you learn this stuff. You have to unlearn, and help me if I'm wrong here, Cliff. You have to unlearn all of that because you think you're getting the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
But everything you're literally learning 2 + 2 is 5. And then you're shocked when it doesn't work. And you're really defending your behavior. Because what, man, she pushed my buttons. What? Dude, if you ain't got a button to push, you can't be pushed. But it's so deep in us as men. I mean, it's deep, man. It's like
so does it speak to
program.
Does it speak to the belief? I mean, like Dr. Cleave says, what you believe. So I think if there are the abuser is believing that this is a chemical reaction, that it's in my DNA, that this is just what we've been told, I think that contributes to kind of like this little false reasoning as to why they're doing what they're doing. Because a lot of men say that, and in my opinion, and just working with men and doing restorative justice, that's just really not, it's usually something else. It's not like this was in my DNA. Because
I'm saying DNA.
But I'm saying
like
there are many people who will use that as an excuse to, you know, commit the crimes that they're doing.
So going back to my original
here's my question. And it is not for the panel, but it is for my potential partner.
Okay.
And at this time in my life, my partner, whoever he shows up, he's done been through something. Who knows what? And I want to know Are you willing to get to hear and know what my needs are? How I need to be loved and see and know and feel that? And are you willing to make that sacrifice? Because see, I know, just like it, you see how I took over that question? You see how I did that? Dr. Adams said, we can do that. Yes, we can shut it down, flip it over, and all kinds of stuff. So if I know that that's something his needs are for me to just wait before I start rapid firing things. If I'm willing to make that sacrifice for this relationship, are they willing? Because see, whatever the situation is, whatever the circumstances are, we can't change that. That can't be undone. But what can be done is to make the determination, to make the sacrifice, get to know who she is. Are you willing to? I got to go back to that, because if we can handle that, then the likelihood of dealing with all of this other is slim to none. And see, and Dr. Adams, I know you said it. I didn't write it down. I did order the book, but for people to hear that again and again and again can begin to turn things around.
Well, that goes into communication to me.
Absolutely.
Is communication, even with women. Women need to talk to men and really ask. Some people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to.
They don't have the tools to do something.
You know, or just ask some of the questions that maybe they needed to ask, you know, and when it comes up, it's usually afterwards, you know, well, I didn't know he was, you know, I didn't know that he did this. Well, did you guys talk? Well, yeah, we talked, but, you know, so, you know, those are things that, you know, questions, you know, people have to learn what a healthy relationship is and but you know, one that's not. They need to know the difference between that. If this person acts like this or acts like that, you know, because, you know, we find that, you know, communication is the single most important thing that it is. If the lines of communication break down, you're going to have problems in that relationship. If you have insecurities and defects, you may not even know how insecure you are. So you will start reacting to things instead of responding.
Yeah.
Those are signs.
Yeah.
You know,
and recreating the same madness.
Yes.
That's happened before.
Well, one of the things, because that's an excellent point, Lady Estelle. One of the things that I've learned, that on a positive note, is just about everything that has been learned can be undone and relearned.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Robertson's right that alcohol, substance abuse, mental illness, these things will get in the way of the relearning process. But patience is necessary.
Absolutely.
We make decisions because that Cupid arrow hits us and we think we're in love and we're ready to get married tomorrow.
Yes.
When I would see individuals in couples, premarital counseling, I would ask them, do you have a wedding date? They would say, yes. And I know I don't have a good poker face. I'd say, when is it? And they'd say, oh, 2 months from now. And then they'd look at my face and they'd say, what's wrong? And I'd say, I recommend you set a wedding date 1 year after we are done with our counseling.
Yep.
And they say, but that's my boo. I said, well, if he's your boo, he ain't going nowhere. 1 year after you're done with the counseling so that you can test these needs and see if the person is going to consistently be willing to sacrifice for you through the duration. Is she going to be willing to sacrifice for you for the duration? And you will know within 1 year, because when that infatuation period is there, you'll sacrifice. I mean, men that don't know how to cook are looking up how to be domesticated, and women that don't know how to. I mean, everyone's willing to sacrifice when they're in love. But you encounter anyone that's been married for multiple years, and if they're honest, they will tell you, you are constantly falling in and out of love while you're married. The commitment is to love. That's a behavior. No matter how I feel, no matter what is being done to me, no matter what's going on, I promise I am going to sacrifice and love you anyway. Is the individual willing to do that? And the book will tell you how to set up scenarios to test that. Now, again, it goes to being trained and learned. So you're not going to be able to do this on your own because we deceive ourselves. We deny things. You're going to have to go into counseling if you have any question concerning the individual. In fact, most of the women that I would see in therapy, if they were just coming out of a bad relationship or going through something, I would tell them, even if you can't afford it, free of charge, when you meet your next guy, will you please bring him in here for me to work with you too before you make that commitment again?
Good stuff.
And the majority of the time, the individual was honest. I ain't going to do that. Is that what it's going to take? No, I'm not going to do that. And I have to, do you hear him? He's not lying to you. He's not deceiving you. He is not willing to sacrifice in that area. And 50% would be in denial and go along with it anyway. And 50% would say, thank you, Jesus. I know in advance now. But
that's awesome teaching.
It all comes down to learning and relearning. You've learned bad habits, you've learned misinformation, you've learned confusing definition of what constitutes manhood. Now let's relearn what the real purpose is. And with that EMS group, the thing that would get them upset is I would ask them, you know, men were made differently from women. I mean, we're trying to do this androgynous thing where everyone's the same, but no, that is not the general purpose. Men were made differently than women. What do you think the primary purpose of for men? Oh, you know, to reproduce or to protect or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I said, okay, let me tell you in my global way what I believe, looking at it from an anthropological perspective, what I believe the difference is between men and women. And he said, what's that? I said, I believe our primary purpose for men is to be willing to die for you. We are willing to be sacrificed to make sure our community persists. That's why in the majority of the countries, it's changing now because everything is changing, but it's the men that go off to war to fight. That's why the men would be the hunters. That's why the men, we are here to be sacrificed to make sure you survive. And we have lost that because of selfishness and me orientation, and I'm got to be first. And the woman, you're there to back us up to make sure we stay strong and can take care of you. Now, people say, well, that's sexist or that's chauvinistic. I said, that's reality. You show me a healthy community, and I will show you the men you've got to get through before you can get to those women and children. You show me an unhealthy community, and those men will sell you those men and those women and children for their benefit.
Yikes.
That's happening all the time.
Dr. Craig, we need you to come on out of retirement.
That's why I wrote the book. That's why I wrote the book.
That's why I started writing.
A lot of thoughts came up for me, and one of them was, I'm surprised it hasn't come up, but your community, dating while you're alone, and one of the tactics of abuse is isolation, getting you by yourself.
Yes.
So if we could give any tips to those who are in the dating process or thinking about it, is to have a community, have someone that you can check in with that can hold you accountable. And that's for men and for women as well. Having people around you that know you really well and that can say, like, you know, you haven't really been yourself. You know, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, people who are going to really look out for you, who aren't overly impressed with you because they love you and they know you. That's going to tell you, you know, the truth and what's what. And it can be kind of hard to hear and hard to swallow, but having a good community around is so needed. And letting that person know that you're dating. Like, I have people. That's why I tell people, I got people with me. There's people looking for me.
So if we're giving tips, I think that's great. I would offer to the ladies who are dating and kind of on the fence, is he healthy or not? No one can consistently be who they're not. right? So give it time. That's why time is so important. And I asked the original question, can batterers be reformed? If he did it once, chances are he will do it again. So we learned today, batterers can be reformed, but they have to do the work. And the work is a deep dive process. So if he's not willing to do the work, reformation is far, far off.
Because not every relationship that experiences domestic violence, those two persons don't always want to be apart. There's always an opportunity for people to reconcile. And I think a lot in our judicial system is really just prone to just separate and to just remove. When sometimes the couple, they want to work it out. But sometimes there's a lot of work that needs to happen.
A lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
But and when I say domestic violence, it's not, I mean, when I think of the most egregious, like the wild things, like if it's strangulation, that is the most fatal thing. That is one form of abuse that only men typically males perpetuate against women.
So you just brought up a really quick question, and I'm looking at the time. Can I ask it really quick? And I know we don't have the 4 hours.
I know, right?
Baby girl said, typically there are some people who really want to be together. There's work to be done, but they really want to be together. So for the expert panels, is it likely that they can do that work together, or is it necessary? Is it more beneficial to separate, do the work, and then come back together when you're both healthy?
Yes, let's talk about the restorative justice part.
Well, first of all, very quickly, back to the needs. If you have, say, 10 high needs and this individual is really taking care of 7 or 8 of those high needs, it's hard to let go of those 7 or 8 because the last 2 are really leading toward abuse. Yeah. So I don't blame anybody that, sits in the situation. I try to educate so that you can make a rational decision. Is that getting knocked up against the head or strangled by your throat worth the 7 or 8 that are being said? Understand why you're in there. It's not because you're foolish. It's not because you're stupid. It's because needs are being met, but you have to make a rational decision. Is it worth it? So it's like really understanding, who are you? What makes you tick? Why do you do the things you do? And you need 2 things. I believe you need to get into counseling together, because I believe you have to be seen together, because the therapist is going to be able to pick things up like through your responses to one another that you may be in denial about. And number 2, everybody needs accountability partners. I explained this in the book. Everybody needs accountability partners who you trust well enough that they can be honest with you, and you don't go pouting off because your feelings are hurt. You trust them enough that they're doing it for your good. And men have a difficult time finding accountability partners because we want to be independent and call our own shots.
Oh, yeah.
How are men talking about this?
Not enough.
How are
I'm
they?
always interested. There's a lot of work around, like, I see there's these men's sanctuaries, and a lot of men, they're like, let's stop the violence. And a lot of the violence in the conversations is gun violence, which we all know is not okay. But I'm always concerned about this area of violence, which is something that a lot of men partake. I don't want to say partake like we all read, but
one of the first questions that we ask, are you willing to change? See, because change is the name of the game. If you're not willing to change, then that means you're going to remain the same. And so in order for these things, to not happen anymore, you're going to have to change. And if you're willing to do that, then you have a chance and an opportunity to be better, to have a better understanding about life, relationships. Your relationship with yourself is the single most important relationship that it is. And so we always, if you got a bad relationship with yourself, you're going to have a bad relationship with other people.
Absolutely.
There's things about you that have not changed, and you got to look at change. Am I willing to do this? Am I willing to listen? Because, it just depends on that individual and being able to, we always tell people, just be vigorously honest with yourself. Honesty is the golden key. If you can't get honest, you cannot change. So if you're willing to do that, you have a chance here to be better than you were. And it's, we're dealing with individuals. So, that person, whoever it is, male or female, obviously their way of thinking has not worked for them. And that's one of the things that, we try to make sure they understand, that it has a lot to do with your way of thinking, male or female. I seem to get in bad relationships. We have women that say, I always seem to end up with these type of, people. So we want to know, well, why is that? I don't know. I just have been like that. So we try to go into, some history. So it's just all about, trying to get a person to really invest in themselves. It's like they say, intimacy, it's being intimate. Into me, you see.
Oh, that's a nice way to break it down. Into me, you
y'all
see.
come up with some stuff.
Want you to look within yourself.
There's a lot here, obviously, a lot here, and that's okay. It's great. It's great. I know what we do with the young people while they're. I got to give them some parameters, and the parameters are not just for love. There's got to be a cutoff point, right? And our cutoff point, as you're learning about relationships, all this stuff has got to be done. We have 4 rules. We have rules. What we say, a friend will never lead you to danger. Now, you don't know what danger is. Let me help you. All right. You might be your boy, it might be your girl. You may be getting so many friends needs met. Let's just keep it there, right? But danger negates all of that, right? And you got to get out. There's got to be a limit. Family will never lead you to danger.
They shouldn't.
The operative word, but they do. So the operative word is, just because they're blood doesn't mean they're gonna be family. Unless if family's doing that to you, family does not equal danger. In fact, we actually put a not equal sign up there. Like, family equal danger, we put a not equal, right? And this is the toughest one. At least for love will never lead you to danger. Now, I don't care how much you want to be together, there's certain rules. Danger can't be in the mix. Yep. You got to draw the line for you so that you will have a chance. Because if you stay in the danger mix, you might be dead. You will not have a chance to recreate. You will not have a chance to go all these things. So the problem with rules is that people don't like following rules, right? So you got to have, you draw the line. Now all the work can be done when you still, that's why when people ask me, well, how you doing, Dr. Marshall? And I say, I'm alive and free. If I'm alive, anything can happen. If I'm free, anything happen. And I don't run around with dangerous fine. Danger is, I don't do danger. I treat danger, but I don't run with danger. That's right. And so that allows everything else good to happen. So I think we can use all of these things because, see, this is about stopping the violence. Right. This is all of those things. And if you can't, look, there's a lot of times I want to do something. But at the end, I said, I ain't doing it. And really, you know why Clifford and Dr. Adams, I didn't do it? I said, because this ain't really me.
Right.
And if the relationship is doing this to me or makes me want to do something, either I shouldn't be there, I probably shouldn't be there in the first place, so I got to find out what's going on in there. So you got to have, I'm fully believe you're working on yourself. You can, before you both of y'all work on yourselves, and you can, that's everything I think that we've said here. And so, this has been wonderful. This has been amazing. I mean, look, it's funny. Can we just what's going to be a podcast? We want to get all over the world, but you can take this and show it to your clients. You can take this and show it to school. It might be the last sighting we have of Dr. Adams, so we got to show it just for him. But I just can't tell you the good you've done here, because I've done this show. Nothing like this has ever come out between the 4 of you. You have produced thoughts that stuff that has just never come to the surface here, and I want to thank you, all of you, just from the bottom of this heart. Lady E.
I am going to defer to the wisdom of the panel.
What things do we need to take with us as we go from this conversation to the book and back to our spaces, places, rooms, relationships? What can you share with us? And briefly, because I don't know how much time we've got, but ending with Dr. Adams. What can you share? Please.
I think you have a wonderful panel here. I commend each and every one of you for the work that you're doing. You actually relieve my conscience because in retiring, I know I was leaving a hole there that wasn't being filled, and it's just good to see you professionals out there filling that gap. But don't get frustrated because sometimes you start counting positive outcomes and you're thinking, is it worth it? I'm not getting too many. I found out that people that I saw 10 years prior and stormed out of my office came back 10 years later to thank me because they received a seed that had been planted, a nugget that had been left, and it burned in them like an ember until they finally matured to the point where they were willing to come back and work. So don't give up. Don't get frustrated. I know it's a mountain out there that you're looking at, but just take one shovel at a time and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to share?
This was absolutely amazing. I have grown.
That you know, I just try to do my best. I'm always studying. I'm always researching. You know, and I like what I do. And I think that's really important. Because my heart is involved in it and everything. And I'm really, you know, I really want to try to help people that I can, that are willing to be open. And sometimes you can get frustrated, you know, and things can happen, but I don't let that stop me. And I think with anything, when you're trying to help people and you're dealing with people, there's always going to be stuff that comes up, you know what I mean? But it's just, you know, when I see one person, you know, just for me, it's if one person says that they have got something, that just does it for me. So I feel like, you know, if you're dedicated to this type of work and you really like it, you know what I'm saying? You get something out of it. You feel like you're making a difference, because that's what's important to me. It's like giving back. And so I just say to people that I take my hat off to anyone that is out here, you know, trying to deal with life and help people in life and, you know, that kind of thing. I really do. I don't know. It's just a special place in my heart because it's not easy work, you know, but obviously you've been chosen to do this.
You answered the calling.
Don't grow weary in well-doing. Anybody else?
Yeah.
I would say a thought is really just to lift up these families who have been victims or who are survivors of domestic violence, you know, those who have lost their lives, because there is a ripple effect and it affects our community in so many ways. Some people think like, well, that's their business. It's all of our business. And it's really, it's a lot of hard work. So I commend everyone that's here who has been doing this work and who is committed to saving our families, saving our communities. I get very excited when I see men who are doing the work, because there's not a lot of resources for them. And they may want to change and they don't know really where or who to go. You can go to a website on a city page and you're going to see one little line, right? And you think, I'm not going to go to
I had to search for him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go to a 52 week. I didn't get assigned to that, but you want something. You know, some people are craving this. The work that we're doing is important because people need it. So I really hope that a lot of people will listen to it and they will take something away because I have. So I really appreciate being here.
Thank you.
So my final encouragement is to those that are listening, whether you are a victim, whether you are a batterer, you've witnessed it, don't lose hope, right? Every morning you wake up is another opportunity for you to do something different. So every morning you wake up, you got action at change. If you want to do it, change is possible. And there are people out in the world, in the field, that's willing to walk you through your journey of healing. What happened to you may not have been your fault, but healing is absolutely your responsibility.
Lady E, do you have a copy of your book?
And I ordered it.
Can you hold it up? Do you have a copy of your
No,
book?
no. I ordered it. No.
I haven't mailed them out yet.
No. Do you have a copy right now to show?
Oh, my book?
Yeah.
Which my book? My book?
Your book, yes.
Oh, okay. I just
Hold
wanted to make
it up.
sure.
Hold it up, Doc.
Hold
up so we can
on
see
just
it.
a second, Dr. Marsha. Just
Dr.
give me
Hold
a
your book
second.
up. Hold your book up.
Hold on. Let me get my background.
Oh,
Dr.
here we
Adams,
go.
Dr. Adams, hold your book up too.
Oh, my book.
All right, we're gonna get like. So we're gonna get y'all both books.
All right.
Okay? That's all I'm saying. Brother, everybody gonna get everybody's book. All right.
Oh, okay.
Mom wrote a book.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Robertson wrote a book.
Thank you. Well,
She got
I
a
didn't
book.
know that.
She got a book. Make sure y'all go get it.
Congratulations, lady.
All right, we
I
gotta get
can't
out
wait
of
to
here.
get yours.
Thank you so much, all of you. This
Thank
was one for the ages, and we're gonna support each other. All
That's
right.
right.
Everybody get weak, weary, and well doing. Call each other.
That's right.
All right. That's what we do. We take care of each other. All right.
All right.
Next week, Street Soldiers, we'll be back. Oh my God. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night.
Love you, Dr. Adams.
Love you. Take care.
All right.